for you all. We've got some legends in the building from around the world and across different industries, from music to photography, and our Web3 fantastic females, my goodness. Please give it up for Miles Leonard, Empress NFT, Danielle Davis, NFTignition, Jan Lorenc, and Simon Hudson. Come on up on stage, guys. They'll be talking about approaching NFTs as a business will lead to mass adoption.
So, yeah, I'm not sure. I've just kicked it off. Should we start with some introductions? Maybe go from left to right, and then we can all tell everyone who we are?
Top to bottom.
So sure, thank you. Thanks, Simon. Hi, everyone. So my name is Jan Lorenc. I'm heading up the division of global digital assets at NuWay. Quickly to NuWay. NuWay is a payment platform, globally set up in 200 markets, presence in 40 markets locally, helping our partners and customers with local method of payments. Also involved in crypto payments. Recently acquired Simplex, which is on-ramp, off-ramp infrastructure, covering the NFT checkout space, and etc. I'm based in Dublin. Our headquarters is in Canada, just to add to this. So maybe over to you.
Hi guys, my name is Danielle. I'm also known as NFTignition. If anyone was around in July of 2021, you're probably familiar with the story of the Fame Lady Squad. Fame Lady Squad was the first all-female generative NFT project to ever launched by the first all-female team, or at least that's what we were told, right? We did find out a month later it was in fact 3 men running the project and no women involved, but luckily we were able to secure the smart contracts and the website and take over the project with a team of real women. So we've been doing that for the last 14 months. Luckily, we just got acquired by a company called DAZ 3D, which is going to give us a ton more resources and access to marketing and some of the stuff that we haven't had access to in a while. I'm really focusing on education. Currently, I'm working on a training program for community managers. It's going to be probably 120 hours of courses that cover everything from Discord management to soft skills to social media management tools, pitch decks, pretty much everything you're going to want your community manager to know. So that's what I'm working on now.
Hi everyone, I'm Empress. I go by Empress NFT on Twitter. I'm here with Babs Labs, which is a full Web3 company for brands. And I also work on the current O game Battle Derby, which is a blockchain car battle game. I also am the mod for Women in Weapons and also the mod for Roman Punks. And I also do community management for Teenage Innovators, which is to support teens in the space as they learn about Web3 and NFTs. And we're about to launch.
Hey guys, my name is Simon. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called QEii. We are a photography-focused NFT platform. We're built on the Flow blockchain. We're backed by Dapper Labs. We have some rock stars on our board, including Netflix founder Mark Randolph and the Apple fellow Guy Kawasaki. Our goal is really to look at helping photographers bring their images and negatives on chain. The platform is live. We've been live now for a couple of months. And we're excited to work with some awesome photographers who we're currently partnering with to bring images on chain and talk about how photography will lead to mass adoption in the future. It's nice to see you all.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Miles Leonard. I'm one of the co-founders of Token Tracks, which is a NFT digital collectible marketplace, Web3 advisory service. I've been working as a co-founder of Token Tracks for the last 18 months. Although if you'd asked me 18 months ago whether I'd be on a NFT panel, I wouldn't have believed it, because actually my history is in the music industry. I've worked in music for the past 30 years. I've been the chairman of Warner Brothers, Parlophone Records, Virgin, and EMI. My history is really through artist development and guiding artists such as Coldplay, Gorillaz, Tiny Temper, Pet Shop Boys, David Guetta, Emily Sandé, amongst many, many others. So I'm shifting from the corporate label side over into the Web3 side, and it's been a brilliant transition so far.
Awesome. Well, I seem to have taken the moderator role, so I'm going to just continue and kick it off. So the topic is approaching NFTs as a business and how that will lead to mass adoption. So who wants to go first? Who wants to jump in and give their 2 cents on why they think that's going to be the case?
Sure, I'll go first.
You go on, Empress.
Thanks. So when we're looking at Web 2 to Web 3 transitions, the key factor, I think, coming at it from the community management side is to realize that instead of building for your community, you're building with your community. And what I mean by that is instead of waiting to announce, everything that you're doing, or after you've tested and iterated and you know that you have a good product, instead of waiting until that point, you actually want to include your community from the initial startup and build with them and test and iterate with your community. So what NFTs really offer is a connection to have access to a lot more data than you might normally have in a traditional startup tech culture. And you can include your audience and your community in the failures, the tests that didn't work out, and they want to know that kind of behind the scenes information. And so I think that that's one thing that I see businesses making a mistake on. NFTs are a business like anything else. So you have a product or a service, you're solving a problem, and then ultimately you usually roll that out to your community. So it's kind of putting those things in a different order and including your community from the very beginning of the build.
Awesome. You want to go next, Miles?
I think, mass adoption comes from 2 sides. You need to have adoption from the artist community, first of all, and then you have to have adoption from the consumer. As I see it right now, we're at the very, very start of this journey, and there's some way to go. However, the possibilities that are there are huge and endless. I think there's a line that's been drawn in the sand, much the same, as when we went from physical product into streaming. I think we're from Web 2 to Web 3, with that line's been drawn, but it's going to take some while before we get mass adoption. I remember only too well when subscription models came in through Spotify, as an example. Everyone believes that we all took that up within 12 months. It was an 8-year journey before we even got anywhere near the scale of volume, for adoption to make it a viable business. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to take 8 years for NFTs, digital collectibles, and Web3 to do the same, but we're right at the start. But, we're at a stage of experimentation, and experimentation leads to discovery, and that's when it gets really exciting.
Yeah, I agree. And Danielle, do you want to give your take on it?
Yeah, I think when it comes to cryptocurrency and mass adoption, NFTs are such a more digestible, fun way to get into the space versus crypto. We have 2 important things that we need to think of when it comes to adoption, like the education portion, and then something that's interesting enough to bring people into the space. And a lot of times cryptocurrency is extremely intimidating, it's very complicated, but some of these NFT projects can be more digestible, more accessible for people. Not to mention there's different versions of success being in the NFT space versus being in crypto where you're just a winner or a loser. So I think it's just a friendlier community. It does have that community aspect, which a lot of cryptocurrency projects don't have, but it's just easier for people to understand. If somebody's coming from a collector point of view and now they're collecting NFTs, it makes sense to them. If somebody's a fan of Game of Thrones and there's a Game of Thrones project, that makes sense to them. You're not gonna walk up to an average person and be like, hey, do you wanna invest in my DeFi project? But you can walk up to an average person and be like, hey, do you know what Game of Thrones is? Did you know they have digital collectibles? And it's something that they're gonna easily understand.
So I do agree, actually. So that's the cooperation or work together from the artist perspective as well as the infrastructure. Educational part is so important because there's still lots of lingo and people don't understand. And try to talk to my granny about NFT, she would have no idea. So it has to be as simple as that to become a mass adopted kind of vertical. From the payments perspective, the checkout perspective, the buzzword is probably frictionless. So it has to be so seamless as much as possible. So that means if the customer is paying, he has to have everything in one kind of platform ideally. If you split in 2 with crypto and he goes out to purchase the token crypto elsewhere, coming back, it's not working in practical terms. It's a very lengthy process and very costly. So I think the key is to have, let's say, on that side, from the payment perspective, having a wallet or checkout that allows you to being connected with different layers 1 and 2 in the background, but cover all those items, as well as jurisdictionally and local payments, etc., for big platforms globally. So I think it's the educational piece. It's just the work together as soon as possible. Don't wait until you go live and then say, hey, I need the payments.
Yeah, all these projects need educational advisors. If you're running a project and you don't have some form of education for onboarding people onto your project, you are very much missing out.
I mean, at Token Tracks, the Web3 advisory service that we offer, the white glove experience, is essential because actually, I'd say 99% of the artists that come to us have, and management have very little knowledge in this space. They're very, very curious, which is a great start, but they really need to be guided through, you know, every stage. And if somebody wants to just come in and have a quick cash grab NFT drop and expect it to work, which is something we wouldn't be interested in because it won't work, it's about guiding them through understanding the communities and how you work the communities and understand the authenticity of what you're doing, and also understanding that, you know, NFTs isn't just a JPEG. We're so bored of that, you know, and digital collectibles and Web3 can be a myriad of creative, exciting things. And actually, once we sit in a room with artists and actually talk to them about the wealth of creative ideas and activations and ideation that you can bring to a project, their eyes light up and they start to understand it. But we're really at that embryonic stage right now of helping to guide. So actually, for us, that Web3 advisory was something that naturally just had to happen and be part of our business model.
Yeah, I would say you're setting people up for failure if you're teaching them just enough to buy your project. You know, there's onboarding and there's offboarding. Are you setting these people up for failure, or are they going to learn and keep growing and buy more projects and actually be successfully investing in whatever it is that you're building?
Yeah, and I think my take on approaching NFTs as a business, we're in the photography sector, so we get asked a lot, especially when you're raising money, about how you're going to get mass adoption. And in order to understand what NFT means, we have to kind of go back in time and look at the history. And in photography, that's JPEGs. And the term JPEG was born in 92-93 and stands for Joint Photography Expert Group. It was a group of companies that came together to try and understand how they can take the physical negative and the production of a photo and make it digital. If you think of other extensions such as PDF, MP3, all of that has been a compression of a process. So the photography that you were taking on digital devices using a JPEG can then be replicated and sent and transacted very easily. We used to say, can you send me JPEGs? Can you send me PDFs? Can you stream MP3s? But over time, that has disappeared. And I personally think that the term NFT really should be seen as an extension, .NFT. So, for example, if you were to sell a photograph of, let's just say, Cristiano Ronaldo, and you could buy the JPEG or you could buy the NFT, we've been taught that NFTs and blockchain is secure and that there's provenance and that there is understanding of who owns that. So when you do go to choose to buy a photo, and it can be a JPEG or it can be an NFT, we will naturally move towards the NFT. Now, for mass adoption and for businesses, I think that what needs to happen is companies that utilize digital goods all the time, every day, as a non-NFT into NFTs. For example, airline tickets. I currently live in Dubai and I arrived yesterday on Emirates. I had no paper access. I literally got sent an email with a PDF of my ticket. I scan it in at the airport. I go in the lounge. I get off the plane. I have all my IDs on my phone. They are technically PDFs and JPEGs. There's no real way for me to take that from Emirates and move that over to America. But if that became an NFT, I would simply have a wallet that would be like my Apple Pay wallet and I could use that anywhere. So I think that the reason it's important to treat it as a business is, in order for this to happen, they need to interact. So Emirates need to talk to BA, talk to American Airlines, etc. In order to do that, you have to have underlying payment structures, like with Nuve, you have to have underlying legalities, you have to have partnership agreements in place. That can't be done from John sitting in his bedroom in Kensington. It has to be done through a business as a limited company or an LLC. For us at Cheese, we found a huge trust in being a company. We're a Delaware company, we have lawyers, we have shareholders, we have accountants. When we're going to raise money and bring on people like Dapper Labs, like Guy, like Mark, we are able to simply send them their documents. Had we been Simon Hudson sitting in his bedroom with cheese.com, it would be very different. Because we're approaching as a business, we can then tap into these places and try and get the mass adoption. So I personally think that in order for us to get from where we are right now, which is what, 1 or 2% of people who've had internet access who have a wallet, it needs to kind of be introduced from the companies that we use every day, such as airlines, TfL, cinemas, and I think whoever's in the ticketing and sector, they're going to be doing really well for us. As photography, we're trying to see how we can actually play with that. So private members clubs like Soho House, airlines, you all have a membership card, whether you be platinum, silver, gold, and we're looking at trying to see how we can utilize photography to make the rarity of those cards, like Amex has Centurion, Platinum, Gold, Blue, rather than the colors maybe have photography from, let's just say, I don't know, Marilyn Monroe photography that you only get one of one if you've been there as a member for 15 years, etc. So that's my take. Sorry, I talk a lot when I get excited.
I will say before that needs to happen, though, what we need to do is have a more thorough, comprehensive education plan, right? These brands need to be educated as well as the people that are using the NFTs. Like, we need more types of resources. We need different personalities covered, different types, hands-on learning, like all of these things that we don't currently have for NFTs available. We need all of those before we can even expect brands to be coming in, because how do they learn about this stuff? It shouldn't have to be through us individually.
Yeah, and I think building off of that, one thing that also needs to happen is for the brand to reassess how they approach business, because when we're looking at the shift to Web3, we're really looking at not a consumer, but we're looking at a producer. Your community members are your co-owners. They want to co-own something with you. They're your stakeholders, and they're your producers. And so making that shift, really focusing on the decentralized aspect of NFTs is absolutely critical. It's not just about incorporating NFTs into your current business structure. It's also about actually acknowledging the revolution that happens with NFTs, which is this extensive decentralization. And the reason why community is key to that is communities absolutely love the ability to actually have authentic relationships with the product that they co-own. That's a very different approach than thinking of your users as your consumers and, you know, approaching it as a hierarchical type of thing where it's a gap between the actual business and the quote-unquote consumer. So I think reassessing how we approach our users is critical, and also community really is key, I think, to mass adoption, because if you got into NFTs, like, the best part of it, at least for me, that's why I went into community management, is when you meet other people and you're all celebrating something you love, which is the brand or the product. And once you have that real experience with somebody else and you can actually create a relationship with somebody internationally that maybe you would never meet in life any other way, but you connect with them through NFTs, I think that you get it, like, immediately. And then you're emotionally connected to NFTs. And I think that that's gonna be critical to mass adoption.
And I think, you know, the reason you got those communities there, we have an opportunity now to give them real value, real utility. They're your community because they want something more than the passive relationship that they've had through DSPs and with music, and they want a connection. So we all have a responsibility to give as much value in the NFT activation, the ideation, the experiential NFT, to really engage them. If we don't do that and we offer something that hasn't very small value, what's that saying to your community? You know, we've got the incredible tools, you know, in our reach to actually do something. Now is the point of change and be creative. So, you know, let's not waste this moment. As I say, we're in the point of experimentation, which leads to discovery. Don't alienate the community that you've spent so much time to build.
Yeah, guys, I mean, again, moderation hat here. We've pretty much run out of time, but should we just maybe let the audience know how they can reach you? Maybe, Miles, if you just want to kick off and let them know how they can follow you and get hold of you online.
Sure. I mean, through either LinkedIn or through just connecting directly with Token Tracks, tokentracks.com. Come and see me in the room here, or through Twitter, Miles Leonard. You can connect with me on there as well.
And for us, we are at Cheese on all social media channels and cheese.com. That's CHEEZE. And I am at Hudson, which is my surname, on Twitter if you want to reach out and connect.
The best way to reach me is Empress NFT at Twitter or on LinkedIn, Dr. Nicole Richter. And if you also search Empress NFT, that will come up. Thanks.
I am NFTignition on all platforms. Easiest to reach me on Twitter, also NFTignition.com if you want to check out my podcast or any of my educational materials. Also, I do have a panel on education tomorrow. If anybody is interested, it's at 1:45 on the 5th floor.
Perfect. For me, it's just a LinkedIn or Telegram or just Google New Way or Simplex, and you find me there.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Give them a round of applause.
Thank you.
Wonderful conversation.